Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Say It Out Loud. This week, I talked to the expert Kate Mehta, and we dig into what is human design and how I can use this information to make the best choices for how I spend my time and how I build my business. Hopefully, listening to this deep reflection inspires you guys to dig into your own human design and see how you might be in alignment or out of alignment. Hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, Kate.
Hi.
Thank you for being here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me. It's so nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Okay, so we talked a little bit about this when we were getting to know each other, and I'm embarking on this kind of new journey for myself, both creatively, both in my career, both just how I design my own life and show up in the world. And I absolutely dabble and pick and choose from many practices when I do this kind of soul searching or work, astrology, human design, different religious practices. We share a hairdresser who knows what I'm about and was just like, you know what? I think you'll really like to talk to Kate, both personally, but also like for this podcast, this show that you're building. So, I know that you have a lot of wisdom and you think about this in a really particular way. So I'm super excited to kind of be vulnerable and share this personal reading of my own kind of design and see what it does and how it serves people.
Yeah. So this will be a balance of a reading. This is different than a typical reading because obviously we want to share it with others, right? So I'm going to give a fair bit of context, but just to give you guys a quick bit about myself, like in very short, I'm a sort of health guide. I do have a science and medical background. And my early work was focused very much on physical health. And that's still big for me. But these days, I find myself having so many more conversations around the mind and the spirit, particularly people questioning sense of purpose and authenticity and just relating to and understanding others. And the two tools that are just my very favorite at the moment are psychological astrology and quantum human design. I know that's a mouthful and I don't want to spend too much time on boring definitions, but I also don't want to make any assumptions about what people know. So I'll just quickly say, astrology, it's ancient. It's one of the earliest ways humans made sense of life. People looked to the sky, they saw cycles of the sun and the moon and the stars, and they connected them to cycles of their own lives. And it became this symbolic language. Back in the day, birth charts had to be calculated by hand. In fact, not that long ago. People, even my teacher, had to do it all by hand and take so much time. But today you can get your birth chart in seconds by entering your birth details. You just need the date, location, and preferably the exact time. You get more information if you can hit it exact. And you get these charts. And so psychological astrology is the practice of interpreting a birth chart as a symbolic map of your psyche, emphasizing self-awareness and inner growth more so than that external prediction. There's like a lot of sensationalism out there that gives it a bad name. Very focused on that, unfortunately. But my brilliant teacher, Dr. Jennifer Freed, calls your personal astrology a map to your soul. And I just love that. She actually has a book by that title. But in any case, traditional astrology asks, what will happen to me? And psychological asks, who am I? And how can I grow? And also, what am I going to do? What choices am I going to make? We're all influenced by certain energies, and they're optimal and as well as unbalanced ways of interacting with them. So, and much of the time, we're at an in-between space where we learn lessons and experience challenges and growth. Hopefully, we do get a choice in how are we going to interact with this. And this is where it's really helpful to understand the transits. So we're all wired a certain way at birth, and there's a universal physics about it. Remember, science is my first language, but to me, this is so science, but I understand not everyone understands it. But there's this universal physics about, okay, we're kind of imprinted with this energy as we're born. But then the universe keeps moving and it impacts us depending on that initial configuration. And as we go on, we become conditioned in various ways. And these tools, we'll get into this some, but the tools are just so helpful in untangling that conditioning, among other things. So before we dive into the human design, I want to put out some food for thought. So first, I want to highlight the idea that consciousness always leads science. And I know we had talked about, I use this example of Copernicus a lot. And again, not making any assumptions about who knows what. He's the guy that figured out the universe wasn't revolving around the earth, but that everything was in fact orbiting the sun. But it took over 100 years, maybe 150 years, to go from that radical hypothesis to broadly accepted science. So right now, we are living in this few hundred years after the scientific revolution. It's a tiny blip in the vast span of human history where our culture has become increasingly reliant on scientific proof. And some of that framework, some of it's great, but some of it's beginning to crumble. And that's a conversation for another time. But my larger point is just that many people have grown dependent on outside information. And I want to point back to the inner knowing we all have, the wisdom that exists within us long before science confirms it. This also always leads me to this Nikola Tesla quote about how the day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in one decade than in all the previous centuries. I love him. But I think of that because I sense, we're on the brink of proving so many things. So much as it's happening, right? It's the things that they're happening now are just magic.
Oh, I love this. I was just recognizing that a lot of when I tap into this kind of stuff, my eyes are closed because it's too many visuals, So
yes.
I'm probably going to be here with my eyes closed,
That's okay.
Just kind of absorbing. Yeah. I love it.
Well, so what is human design? So in essence, it's a system that helps you understand how your energy works, how you're wired to make decisions, interact with others, and use your strengths. It's like a personal roadmap for living in alignment with who you really are. And it combines different traditions like astrology, some of the ancient astrological traditions, the I Ching, which is an ancient Chinese text, the chakra, the Indian chakra system, the Kabbalah tree of life, and some modern science. Oh. And it blends them into one framework. It is pretty incredible the way it all fits together. And when you enter your birth data, the date, time, and place, you get a body graph. So with astrology, you get a natal chart, and with human design, you get this body graph. And it's the chart, it shows which parts of your energy are defined, meaning consistent for you, and which are open, that are flexible and influenced by others. Human design sorts people into 5 broad types. Manifestors are the ones who spark things into motion. Generators and manifesting generators bring the energy to actually build and create. And projectors are here to guide that energy with wisdom, while reflectors mirror back the health of the community.
Wow.
So manifestors, again, initiators, they get things started. They're about 8 to 9% of people are wired that way. Generators and manifesting generators, the generator types, they are 70% of people. 70% of people who are like the workforce of the world. Their generators are the builders with sustainable energy, and manifesting generators are also the builders, but they are fast and multitasking. But together they make up 70%. So just think about that for a second. That is a lot of whom we're seeing in the world. That much of our culture is this go, do, make things happen, just crank away energy, right? Then the projectors are the wise ones. They're the guides, the directors of the energy. They're here. They just have this knowing. They see things. They can see into people, and they really have great wisdom to share with us. And then reflectors are the mirrors of the community. They are deeply sensitive to the environment, and only 1% of people are reflectors. Super rare. The projectors are about 20%. Okay.
Yep. Wow.
So just to break that down. But again, the 70%, and I'm going to revisit that in a second, but each type has its own strategy for making life flow more smoothly. Like they're all different. We're going to, you'll see for yours when we get into it. And I'll touch on a couple of others, but the practical value, it tells things like the best way for you to make decisions. Is it with your head? Is it with your gut? Is it from your emotions? How to use your energy without burning out, and why you might feel pressure or frustration in certain areas of life. So instead of being like another personality test that you take once, it's more of a lifelong commitment or experiment. You try it out, notice how life feels when you follow your design, see if it works for you. Every type has their own way of moving through life. It's less about the label, more about that experiment. When you follow your design, life tends to flow with less resistance and more alignment. I talked about how 70% of those people are the generator types. And that comes from one center. There are 9 centers. And when we look at the body graph in a little while, but there are these 9 energetic centers on the body graph. And the sacral center is one of the squares, like right below the heart, if anyone happens to be looking at a chart. When that center is defined, that makes you a defined sacral, you're a generator type. The other 30-ish% of people who are not that are the other 3 types, when that is open, they do not generate their own energy. They're here to amplify others, which makes them wise about energy, but also more prone to burnout. And this is what makes it more obvious that something's different about them. And I mean, I can speak from my own experience. I fully recognize that my energy was different than others. I wonder, like, is something clicking for you? Like, do you
absolutely
notice that?
Yeah.
It's and when we're seeing 70% of the world operating that way, when this came to me, again, I was not looking for these tools. They happened to me. But when I had that first moment of clarity, oh my gosh, this is how I'm wired, and this is okay. I was actually feeling less than in a way, because I recognize and lived in New York City. You live in New York City, right? Mm-hmm. So that's a manifesting, generating culture, if there ever is one. I mean, go and do and make it happen. And like, I could bring it, like we amplify. Again, it's not that we don't have that. Like, we bring it when we can, but it's just not that endless the way it is for generators. Generators, if they're doing the right work, they just have this consistent, steady motor for work and life. And our experience is more rush and then have to like rest. Yes. So when I figured this out, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah. So I recognize, here's my strengths. This is where my power lies. This is what my gifts are. And it's okay that I'm not supposed to be that. Wow. Okay. That was just huge for me. Regarding your question about the best way of working, this is number 1 for projectors. And a theme for anyone who has an open sacral center is not knowing when enough is enough. And that's the thing, is that not knowing when enough is enough. We take in and amplify that. And we see everyone around us just cranking away, because 70% of people are doing it, that we will not take care of our energy at times, and we'll push on through. And that's when we burn out.
Okay, so I'm a projector. I have an open sacral.
Yes.
Which means that I don't have unlimited energy sources. And what that means is like, okay, I have these fits of like, I can do it, and then I need to rest. And geez, that just resonates so much. And you're right. Like, and you said, it doesn't mean we're not high functioning individuals, quite the opposite. But even quite recently, I would be like, there'd be days where I'd be like, oh gosh, I just don't want to. And I'd be like, okay, don't be lazy, get up, do the thing. But now that I'm starting to explore like what my natural rhythm is, I'm just not at like war with myself or at war with what I'm doing. So I can already see like, okay, I'm going to have this week for a podcast, but then like, you know what? I'm probably going to need to just kind of hole up with some books after this. So anyway, that resonates already. And I can already feel more, I feel better already, frankly. Yeah.
Good. I'm so glad. That's
Yeah.
honestly, a huge part of my work is helping projectors understand this about themselves and also families. Because if you have a family of generators and there's that one kid who's a projector and they're misunderstood and they're thought, you said the word lazy, the whole family just thinks they're lazy and what have you. It is the saddest thing because really projectors are here to guide, to lead. They're here to lead us. They know a better way. They have this great wisdom to share, but it has to be invited, and we're going to get to that. But to continue on this for a minute, this is so important, and particularly for projectors, if they don't figure out how to work with this energy in a healthy way, they will very likely hit a major wall in around the mid 40s. And I've seen it. I have some tragic examples of this. I have I have a guy. I'm going to give you one example. I met a guy this summer. I was on vacation, and we just were in a small surfing group together. And I don't just push this information out to everyone. Like this is not. I'm not. It needs to be invited
Yeah.
for it to land, right? So if people, and this is a guy, I'll tell you straight up. He told me later, would not believe any of this, complete skeptic. But he ended up pulling it out. Yeah, well, tell me more. Tell me a little more. And I'm like, well, if you would like to see, like, we can run your chart and look at it if you'd like. And he's like, yeah, I want to do that. And to jump ahead, it ended up from him being super skeptic to like wanting to hire me for anyone he ever works with. But I'll tell you what hit him was, I wish I met you a year ago because I hit that wall a year ago. And I was in the hospital for 2 months. There was nothing wrong with me. He's a doctor too, this guy. But he was like, there was nothing wrong with me. They couldn't find any, but it was just, so he was telling me
Wow.
this happened. And I'm like, But I said, you know what though? If you met me before, you might not, it wouldn't resonate as much. But now that you've experienced, and I'm glad you're okay, he's still recovering from a year ago. Like it can be really tough for projectors to recover. So I am so just incredibly impassioned to as many projectors as I can help understand their energy, because this is all about, we just need everybody to be able to be their best selves. And since they're a rarer type, they tend to be more misunderstood, and they might miss their chance to be that best self that they're supposed to be. They get into too much conditioning of like, oh, I have to live that way, which is just exhausting. And back to how you reset, I have another example of, I know someone who, the way she figured out how to manage her energy was, she has once a week, usually Saturday, she has no people days, she calls it. She wears her pajamas the whole day. She does the reading and the whatever, no people days. And that is how she deals. Then she goes through about the rest of her week, but then she has her Saturday reset. So, just for example.
I love that so much.
It's a thing. And it's like, we're all different. And here's the biggest point of all. First of all, we all have all the parts of the chart. It's not like, oh, you're this and that and the other. It's like, we have everything, but where we're defined is what we recognize about ourselves. Because it's like, it doesn't change. When we're defined, the places we're defined is where that's me all the time. I have that is set energy for me. Whereas the other places where you're open, it's changing depending on who you're with, and it's a fluid experience, flexible experience. And that's going to come up again. I'll repeat that. But
Okay.
So again, you're resonating mostly with these parts. So we're talking a lot about the defined parts of you is what you're going to recognize. But again, back to biggest point of all, none of this is good or bad. None of it's better or worse. We just need everyone to be their best selves. And it is not helpful for anyone to force their type or strategy or authority on someone else. That doesn't work. That's what leads to the conditioning. And unless the person happens to be the same as you, I do a lot of work with families and parenting topics. And I'll just tell you from my own experience that as well-intentioned as I am, as much as I know, I have every means to do right by my daughter. I mean, I swim in these tools. This is my work, is helping people be their best selves and be the best of everything and be the best parent. And I should have all the means about me. I would 150% be doing it wrong if I did not understand our design differences. Because of my type and what I understand about my strategy and authority and how I work, it's so vastly different. It would be, I mean, and I'm so grateful that these tools did find me, and I don't doubt at all that that's part of why they did, because so that I can guide her as a better parent. But I'm just very thankful, and because it's been so empowering for me, I mean, I want to share it with as many people as I can. I mean, this is why I do what I do and why I'm so passionate about this tool in particular.
Well, first of all, one of my principles when I was leading companies, when I'm going to lead companies, when I'm going to build myself, is I've always intuitively felt like let people be themselves, let people work on their own cadence. So I would give a Friday afternoon off because I needed it. I needed that Friday no people day. And, there was some friction on like, oh, whatever, we're building this company. I'm like, trust me, it's only going to serve this business even more. So I just want to say that for any like leaders out there, it worked bringing this into the workplace too. And just thinking about it in the family, I can already think about how it would benefit and would have benefited. So it's just beautiful to think about how to apply this in different spaces. But yeah, please, more.
Okay, so we're going to get into the types and the strategy. We're going to start to focus more on you now, okay? So we've talked a little about the projector. Projectors are guides, and they're not here to generate or sustain energy like generators, but to see into others and to recognize talents and to direct energy more efficiently. And the gift is in perception and wisdom and guiding others, not in the constant doing. So projectors aren't designed to push themselves into situations or prove their worth. Instead, their magic works best when others see and value the wisdom first. Recognition means that someone notices your gifts, your perspectives, your presence. And the invitation means that they actively welcome you into a role or a relationship or an opportunity. And when you accept only the invitations that feel good and correct, you align with that success theme that is the theme for the projector, and avoid there's this vicious cycle that can occur if a projector is just pushing, just they become bitter. And it's just this vicious cycle of bitterness that can happen. And that's really tragic because, again, they're the wise ones who are here to lead us to a better way and know things and see things. They just see the greatest potential of people and of situations. And to miss out on that is very sad. So, and very hard for them if that's lost.
Yeah, it's her that resonates completely. Yeah.
So the strategy then, coming off of that, a projector's strategy is to wait until others recognize their unique gifts and invite them in, because that's when the guidance is truly welcomed and effective.
So hard.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better at that, because it is like, I think in the earlier days, I would want to share whatever I can understand and see. And so many are not open, or don't, it's like intrusive almost. But now I can kind of sit back and I do it like that bitterness feeling, that like kind of clinching I can feel it and figure out how to release that. It is hard because it feels like you're waiting, and it also feels like not proactive and not like, oh, well, I should probably put myself in this situation so at least somebody can see, or put myself out online, because where will they see you if you're just in the house? Like, you have to at least be available, it seems. So that balance is tricky. But yes, yeah.
Yeah. And there's an think of the energetic dynamic here. It's not necessarily a personal thing. So tell me if you've experienced this, because you have a defined throat, meaning you've got a consistent voice. It's a consistent energetic thing for you. So this might not be as much for you as some others, but generally projectors have this classic experience where, say you're at a business meeting, you're around the table talking, you have this great idea, you share it, no one seems to hear it. And then a few minutes later, someone over there says the exact same thing. And everyone's like, yes, that's it. That's a great idea. And you're just like, what? What just happened? Like I said that like 5 minutes ago. What?
Yes. Yep.
Like, so that is an energetic thing. And there's something that sometimes can help you if you need this invitation, right? Try this. I can't guarantee this always works, but I just always say, see if shifts any of the energetic there. If you really have something, and we're going to get to some other parts that you have that do give you
Right.
that voice. See if you can shift that energetic by asking for the invitation. Hey, I've got this great idea, or I have this experience.
Mm.
Can I share it with you? Like try that. Sometimes that can just open up the energetics where the energy pivots, shifts to sort of this invitation. I don't know, play with that and see if
Love
that,
it.
yeah. So, but
Great.
that is just a classic. I mean, that example almost always comes up. But we're going to move on into the authority. Now, this is the decision-making authority. And I'll give you a couple examples. There's one, for example, that's just like sudden, immediate, instinctual knowing. There's one that's a very gut, like, no, just this gut knowing. And all generator types, by the way, this will come in handy, assuming you know, since there's 70% of people, you may live with one, who knows. They are better with, they have this internal yes, no. There's like, kind of yes, no to everything. And they have this sacral motor and how they make that. A lot of them have this as their authority, the decision-making authority, just this yes, no way, this It might be nope, 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 yep, yep. It's funny, whenever I tell a generator, like, work it, they'll say, oh, yeah. Like, okay, well, that's your sound. That's your sacral sound right there. They have this really, and you can do a sort of game asking them questions to just get that turned on. And that's how they get in tune with their gut feeling. So just pro tip, generator types like yes, no questions. And then the projectors and manifestors and reflectors with the open sacral, we don't. We need more words. We need open-ended. But that helped me. Everyone else in my house is a generator. And just simply, instead of asking, hey, what do you want for dinner? If I give hey, do you want to have this for dinner? And they can, if all they have to do is a yes, no, I mean, mind blowing how simple it gets. But
Great.
But I know it's great. But that's an authority. And there's that instinctual one that's really quick, and there's another one that just is a slower. It's called the creative or the emotional wave. That you don't have this, but some people experience this sort of high, low, kind of this constant up, down energy, and they have to wait. They basically have to wait the whole wave for decision making. So it's a slower, like, take your time with decisions. And you, my friend, have the splenic authority, which is that instantaneous knowing. And the signature experience is when you're aligned, you feel a calm certainty in the moment. Like, this feels right. Even if it doesn't make logical sense, you just know. And when ignored, you might override the spleen with your mind and later realize, I knew that wasn't right, but I didn't trust it. Because the splenic voice is so subtle. Projectors with this authority often second guess themselves, or they look back later wishing they had trusted that first instinct. And the problem is society conditions people to prove or to think through and the pros and the cons and all of that for decisions. But your wisdom is instantaneous. It does not need rational justification. And I also have this authority, so I can relate and speak from experience on it. And practical guidance for it is pay attention to the very first signal, that gut feel. It's a very subtle yes, no, a sense of lightness or contraction. And don't expect the spleen to repeat itself. It whispers once. The best thing you can do is to create space and rest. The quieter your system, the easier it is to notice those splenic nudges. And you can practice with things as simple as like food choices and which route to take and your daily interactions, just to build trust. Like you can truly just like go with that immediate, picking which vitamin off the shelf or the fruit or the whatever. Like you can actually build trust by just practicing little things. Combine that strategy, that waiting for recognition and invitation, and then check, does your spleen say yes? Like go to that feeling. So in one line, that's like the splenic projector is designed to wait for that recognition and the invitation, then instantly sense through that subtle, quiet intuition whether the path is correct or safe or healthy or whatever.
And you're right. I spent so much time kind of denying this and overthinking. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Thank you. And I'm
Yeah,
just thrilled. Yes, this is
yeah,
me 100%. Yeah.
yeah. It's really nice to have that validation, right? Because yeah, if you do it, once you go to the pros and cons and the overthinking it, you've lost it. You've lost your wisdom. You've lost your wisdom. And
Yeah.
it's yeah. So that's very real for. And the same thing happens with the sacral when they have that If they hesitate, like it's magic. Like if you have any, getting the yes no, you can just is it raining outside? Are you wearing glasses? And they just kind of get that going, and then you throw in the big question they're struggling with, and boom, the answer will just come out of them. And they don't, even if they don't think they know,
Wow.
it just comes. I've seen it so many times. It's really cool because they'll immediately know it's true. But if they hesitate, they're not ready to make the decision, or that's when you go to your head and you can't. If there's hesitation, it's like let's try again. Let's try again. You're not ready. But yeah, but understanding the authority that is yours. I mean, I
Okay.
honestly haven't had it not check out. Like the people that I talk with about this, they're like,
Yep.
yeah, like I know this about myself, but then we think it's supposed to, oh, but it's supposed to be that way. Or, I think about how I would be teaching my daughter. I think about the times I've shared wisdom of that. Oh, you're just going to know when you, but no, they're not, because that's my
Oh,
authority. And I now
you're right.
realize, so we have to respect the other people's authority and recognize what's ours. Because yeah, there's quite a few things like that we'll touch on today. Oh, I want to mention this though. So that I told you projectors are like 20%. Splenic projectors are about half. So there's like about 10% of people wired the way that you are. Just FYI. I think it's interesting to see the breakdown.
Okay.
Okay. Um, so let's get into the purpose a little bit. The incarnation cross is something we look at, and that is, in short, you could just say it's your top 4 gates. It's in the most significant placement of your chart, and they basically put words around the energy that gives you your sense of purpose, and then what
Hmm.
grounds you to do your purpose.
Okay.
So I don't want to get lost. Like we could go down the rabbit hole of me explaining the I Ching to you, but
Which I would love next time.
we can totally do that. But I want to keep this simpler for anyone who may be listening. But so your sun purpose gates are called the catalyst, which is also known as principles,
Hmm.
and creation, also known as power skills.
Hmm.
And so there's an energy around I'm going to give you some more sentences about that, but I just wanted to tell you the titles first. And you have
Okay.
in your chart, not only in your sun purpose area, that catalyst, the principles, is double. It's showing up. It's in another location as well. And that power skills creation energy is triple. That's your one energy of all the gates that's like triple in showing up in your stuff. And
Okay.
the earth, which is what grounds you, is called possibility or answers. And the other one, there are 2 of each, is fulfillment or contribution. And that one's also showing up double in your chart, that fulfillment and contribution. So in short, what that looks like is so you're a splenic guide of revolution, not by force, but by instinct, integrity, and authenticity. You sense what no longer works, redirect resources toward what does, and inspire others to live more aligned with truth. And when invited, your wisdom transforms both people and systems. So sit with that for a minute. I can reread it. I have it, and I'm going to say it again in a little bit of a different way. So you're a guide whose presence quietly but powerfully shifts the course of things. You're not here to keep the status quo in place. You're here to sense when the ground beneath the collective has gone stale and to catalyze like a revolution in values or direction and authenticity.
Oh,
How's that feel? Do you feel that?
yes. So many tingles, and I could cry. Yes. Um, yes. in my notes and in my journals and in my work that I'm now dedicating the rest, this next phase of my life to. This is kind of exactly it. I'm curious. Okay, so the creation, which I know you'll get into, but not here to make things happen. But creation is, well, no, it's not. Creating is just creating, and it's creating right.
It's not that it's just about that invitation. For you as a projector, you have that wisdom, but it's that a lot of it comes down to being with the right people who are
Yes.
calling, like that's really key. And that's, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more with other
Okay,
parts
great.
of your chart too. But so from here, you choose your own adventure.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of shadow on this.
The shadow of this cross is trying to push the revolution from the mind or the ego instead of guiding the revolution from that instinct and recognition. When you
Okay.
align, you become the trusted voice that senses when the change is necessary and points people toward authentic and sustainable directions. It's a never ending conversation, this stuff, because it's like you are where you are, then there's all these little pieces, and then the interacting with others, and then the transits. And so it's really just can go on it. Just you can take it whichever way you want.
Like you said, this is our first reading. Obviously, we could talk about this forever. But right, I could in theory tap into you on at different times, at different transits, different things that are happening in my life and what's happening in the world, and just kind of understand how that all fits in at any moment. But this is just like basically an overview of how I'm wired and how that interacts. But like you said, people probably have, I mean, I know businesses have this, billionaires have this, regular people like having this regular, it's almost can be part of your team.
For sure. It's very, yeah, for sure. It's, I mean,
Cool.
I'm a coach if you want to use that word, like,
Oh,
but
okay.
but I mean, I tend to not use that word. I don't know why, but really
Same.
that's a lot of what I do is help. People come to me for all different things. And again, my early part of my career was very physical health focused. And so there's been a lot related to that. But it's all connected, right? It's the things
It is.
the physical things clear when the energetic and the mind stuff clears, and just the understanding of self and really other. Once you see it for yourself, the magic of then being like, oh, that is what's going on. That's how that person is different and why this is going on. Anyway, it's just really
Yeah.
incredibly powerful tools. You have the 2838 channel. And it's one of the most archetypal life purpose channels in human design. And in short, it is about turning the struggles, the inevitability of struggle, into a path of purpose. Not just being the victim, but being like, okay, I'm going through this and this is purposeful because it's for something. And not every battle is yours, but the ones you choose shape your life into a testament of meaning. And there's with that, we have a few things in common. I actually have both of these channels that you have, but that third 2838 that's one of the places in the chart where there can be a very clear sense of power struggle. If you have, say, one person with the 28 and one person with the 38, you will totally see power struggle with people. You have both, so it's almost it's dare I say a little bit of a trump card. I don't like it. It's like you kind of override. You have both, so it's like it. I think in my experience with it, I feel like others who have one, and there may be, I see it in my family. Like I have people with these, and I totally see the power struggle going on very clearly all the time, right before my eyes. But it's also just in others that I discuss this with. It's a known energetic thing that those two gates, if you have people with the opposite, you'll feel it. And I sense that when we have those of us that have the complete channel, they probably feel sort of an energetic, I don't want to say feeling overpowered maybe, but like there's definitely there's still an energetic kind of thing going on there related to that I just
So
think
like
is help.
are they not in opposition, but kind of within like myself almost? Or is that what you're saying?
Not for you. For you, those being together will flow. But if you have two different people, one with one side and one with the other, you will, and there's like a built-in power struggle for those people.
Oh,
Like
got
somebody
it.
who has 28 and then the other person has a 38. It's just a thing. I just wanted to
Fascinating.
mention it because you have that complete channel, and it's helpful to be aware of energetic things like going. It's like not personal. When you
Yep.
recognize just, oh, that's an energetic thing going on. Maybe we do all our meetings over Zoom versus in person, sitting six,
Oh,
right next to each
yeah.
other. It's really interesting how things like that will play out. But
Love it.
so that's the 2838, and then the 4323 is one of the most striking and unique channels. It sometimes called the genius to freak channel. And you actually said something earlier that made me think. I was like, oh yeah, we're going to talk about this. But because of how it operates, it's the gift of turning inner breakthroughs into spoken clarity that can
Wow.
transform collective thinking. But the line between the genius and the freak depends on timing and that recognition and the trust in your inner knowing. So this channel, it carries the archetype of the visionary messenger. And the knowing is not logical or evidence-based. It's mutative. It's ahead of its time. It comes from within. The work is not to convince people, but to wait for the right invitation or recognition before sharing. When you do, the words will carry incredible impact. But if you force, that's where the genius comes out. When you wait for that right time, genius. But if you're pushing it out, freak. That's where that comes from.
Wow. Okay, let me ask you this on a personal question. Okay, so obviously, like I'm kind of stepping into a more public facing, creating, basically like podcast and like being more active on social media, etc. Does any of that, like, I think about in modern society and being the face of something, and that means I'm inherently pushing out some of my beliefs. Um, how do public facing people with ideas and perspectives manage like or is it just like, okay, you know what, I'm going to say, I'm going to do, I'm going to create, and some people will think that's a freak, and the right people will think that it's a genius. Is that kind of
I
how?
think
Yeah.
it. I think it's really pay attention to the timing for yourself, and
Okay. Yeah.
clearly, with what you have done and accomplished, you have been invited to do many
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So you've been invited, you've been recognized. That's there for you. So there are people who already want to see you and want to hear from you and know this about you, right? So think about it in that way. But
Cool.
that's something to think about with
Yeah.
whomever you are at the moment, because you might find, um, yeah, you have to kind of
Yeah.
see who you're with. I want to pause for a second and just
Okay.
repeat the like how to stay in alignment,
Okay.
because
Yes.
I just want to keep repeating these things like trust the spleen. Your instinct is subtle. It's fleeting, but it's always there. And if you do miss it, don't panic. Another instinct will come. You had kind of asked, I think you had asked something about that before. You're like, wait, what if I miss it? Um,
Yeah.
then the waiting to be recognized. Your guidance lands when others are ready to hear it. So forcing it dilutes your gift. So don't forget
Okay.
that. Rest and protect your energy. You're not designed to keep up with the generators, and the downtime refines your clarity.
Yeah.
Focus on integrity, not the outcome. Your role is to name what is no longer aligned and offer direction, but not necessarily to control how it plays out. Which you
Okay.
also indicated before. You said, I know I let people do their thing.
Yeah.
You said that before. Yeah. So, and on that note, I want to mention a lot of this is stuff like you're nodding. This is resonating. This is healthy people. They know these things about themselves. They have figured it out. They figured out I need my no people day or whatever it is. I'm going to go to the movie every Friday.
Yep.
Whatever most people figure out. It's when conditioning is really undue, when there's just are trying to fit. People get messages that it's not okay or safe to be who they are, and it takes so much energy to force yourself to kind of not live according to your energy. but the rarer types are misunderstood and really oftentimes will force it. I mean, that's the very common thing you see. And then we lose them. We lose them being their best selves. And then, terrible things can happen. This idea that healthy people generally know this stuff. It's stuff you know about yourself. But this gives it like a picture, like a map. Oh, there that is. That's that thing about me.
We know that in whatever 50 years, 30 years, this is going to be more adopted. But just the idea of anybody who's listening that you are designed a certain way in your energy and your gifts, and just not to try to emulate other people necessarily, that doesn't feel natural. I feel like that period in and of itself is a paradigm shift, and one that I'm just excited to share. So yes, okay. So any last, like, how this plays into astrology? It's really interesting because it is all, they're not in opposition. You're saying this communication, this kind of like quiet revolution, this all of this. But anything about the ascendant and the Scorpio or any Sag, are there any other like major glaring things for me that either further corroborate what you're saying, or just like, yeah.
I don't know what you know, but I already mentioned to you that the Sun and the Mercury, that being, that's,
Yeah.
not everyone has that, where, I mean, everyone's different, right? But when you have something connected to your sense of self, that's a big deal for you. So that communication,
Okay, cool.
the thinking and the writing and the communication, anything you can relate to communication. Again, inside communication, all what's going on in here, the thoughts and everything, and then
Yeah.
whatever's coming out of you. Anything that you can relate to communication. It's a big, big, broad theme, okay? And
Okay.
in the house of communication, which also has Jupiter. It's not conjunct, but Jupiter's the house of abundance and expansion and blessings, and it's also in your third house.
Oh my gosh.
So
I am just so inspired and grounded all in once. Thank you, Kate.
I'm so glad.